So then digging in there a little bit, are you then putting time to be intentional about being strategic? That's what everybody says. I need somebody that's more strategic. It's a bunch of buzzwords, but are you intentionally taking time to be able to think, have that deeper thinking, be strategic, uh, on top of course, just tactically executing? How are you making sure you're taking that time, or are you just kind of letting it happen?
Yeah, I actually, I love this question because it's helped me a ton. I heard this concept of one awesome hour on a podcast somewhere, but it stuck with me. So when you're an IC or even if you're a manager, you're typically just doing your role, right? You're doing, as you're being a CSM, you're being a salesperson. And if you can carve out 1 hour a week, like literally just 1 hour to think about the things that you're struggling with or challenged with and trying to solve that. So the concept is like, don't work in the business, work on the business. Then you can actually do a lot for your career because you're the ones like, oh, I noticed this issue. I went and solved it. I'm also assuming that because I'm experiencing this as an IC, my peers are also experiencing it. I've taken the time to go and solve it. That'll elevate you so much more quickly. But I think this general concept of like, if you're an operator where you don't have like a very senior title, you're typically working in the business. You're doing your role. And if we're all being honest, you have leftover time that you're probably invest in working on the business, but you typically take that time to just work on in the business to make sure that your next day is easier.
Do the next task and move
Exactly.
on.
So instead of doing that, instead of just trying to like make your work week shorter, take that hour that you have in that day and just trying to work on the business, be it solving a big challenge that your team is you're facing, or just identifying, hey, I think we could go in this direction based on the fact that I've had a time to like take a step back and look at what we're doing. I think that helps a ton. And the more I can implement that for my teams, the better. I haven't done that in a while. Like as an IC, that was ultra effective.
Yeah.
Now when you're a leader, like, you got to be thinking like that anyways, but there's probably still some benefit to that left in that tactic.
The practical part is you said it was 1 hour a week. It's not 1 hour a day. But
We talked about this before. If you can hide behind really big goals, make it so doable. You can do an hour. That could look like 2 30-minute segments in a week. That could look like 1 hour at a time. That could look at 15-minute segments at a time. I'd probably recommend the hour just because it takes time to actually context switch into the right mode. But you could jack that up to 2 hours if you want. But just carving out that time, because like if you don't, your calendar just gets filled up on a daily basis.